Hello everybody, I hope you are having a fantastic day. I've got some stuff for a mailbag. Let's go ahead and open up the first one and check it out. Hide the address. Okay, so these are 12 2-ounce bottles with needle tops, and when you look at these things on Amazon, they come in pretty large quantities, and you can get them in slightly smaller. I think you can get them in 1 ounce or 2 ounce bottles, and for some reason they always come in like sets of 10 or 20 or something like that. Let me open these up and I'll show you. So the idea is they come with these little funnels here so you can fill them up, and they've got this relatively tiny needle top that I'm having a hard time getting focus on. There you go. And so what people do with them is they put wood glue and things like that in them to get real precise when you're doing crafts. Like let's say you're trying to glue letters to something. Well, the bottle that the glue comes with is going to just never let you put a small enough amount of glue that's not oozing out on the sides. But what I want it for is things like this. So this has been kind of a controversial topic, this Deoxit stuff and some of these other products like this. Some of them have adjustable sprays, but a lot of them don't. So when I go to spray my cleaner lubricant or my Deoxit or other things like that, I wind up in fact, I have a pan in my office because you want the tiniest spray, and all of a sudden you're just spraying it all over the office. So what my plan is, and I've seen, I think Adrian's Digital Basement did it, so that's where the idea came from. But my idea is to take some of this stuff and to put it, I'm probably gonna make a giant mess, but just put a little bit of it in here so that I can use smaller quantities of it, because most of the time I'm trying to get it down into the tips of chip pins or chip sockets and stuff like that. So instead what I can do is just take the little top off there and just drip and get it in places like that. So again, I'll be labeling them obviously and putting cleaners and alcohol and vinegar and things like that, so that I don't have to just completely soak down my office every time I want to use this stuff. Next up, let's grab another one from eBay. It's got what the heck? It's got crayon or pencil all over the side of the box. Trying to not show my address. I'm Florida, man. You do not want to show up at my house uninvited. So I'm not too worried about that, but promise the wife. Which I'd be scared of showing up on her unexpected. What the heck is this? Emmy thanks you for your business. So I'm guessing that's Emmy who drew on the side of the box. Emmy Bear Holdings, Grease Weasel 4.0. Okay. So there's a decent chance you don't know what Grease Weasel is, and I'll explain that in just a second. So what the heck is the Grease Weasel? Now, it is a USB device that will hook up a floppy, but it is not a USB floppy device. You may not know if you haven't scoured the market for such a thing. They do not have USB 5 1/4 inch drives. Somebody in the comment may find someone somewhere, but to my understanding, it's about as close to impossible to have a 5 1/4 inch USB drive, and there's some reasons, because they weren't really out at the same time. USB came so far after 5 1/4 inch drives went away, and there's tons, and still today you can buy 3.5 inch drives that are USB, but that's not what this is. This isn't to take one of these 5 1/4 inch floppy drives and hook it up to your computer and have it be the A drive or the B drive. No, this is a device primarily for data backup and recovery, and that is one of the things that I've added to my company recently, is the ability to do data backup and recovery. So I say it all the time, but these drives are going bad, and even faster, the disks that these drives created are totally going bad at an alarming rate. And so this was software that was written by somebody that I know, and when these disks go bad, this data is lost forever. So funnel web backup will never be around again. And so the idea with this device here is not every disk was your standard 360K or 1.2 meg floppy that came in the IBM. These discs were single-sided 90 kilobyte discs, and you can see these were notched so that they could actually be flipped over and used on the other side. You would physically flip the disc over. So these discs were not designed to be read in an IBM floppy drive, and that's where the Grease Weasel comes in. So the Grease Weasel, my understanding is that it is a very precise floppy controller combined with some awesome software that allows you to read the magnetic flux of the disk regardless of how the disk was formatted. So in other words, if you pop in any disk into an IBM computer, it's going to expect that you're going to have a track here, 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 and here, and it's going to be laid out like this. But what if it isn't? What if it was made for an Amiga? What if it was made for a TI or something like that? Well, instead of relying on what the thing thinks it should be, it actually sweeps the drive and reads the magnetic flux on the disk and puts it together into a disk image. So this is not made for running disks on the computer. This is made for archiving them. And then once they're archived, you can run them basically like ROMs and backups and all that kind of stuff. So because I'm doing data recovery, I have a feeling this is going to be an essential tool, and it really is a race to try to get, I'm going to try not to push those in there too hard. It is really becoming a race to recover as much data off these old floppies as you can, because it's going away every single day. So that is the Grease Weasel, and I think if I get it up and running, I think I'm going to do a separate video just showing you how this thing works. And they're not very expensive. There's like 40 bucks. So, I mean, not cheap, but if you have data that there's no other way to recover, it's pretty sweet. Well, the reason why it didn't look familiar is because these are not that. Well, this could be the part number or something like that, but these are the 74LS00N. And these are quad NAND gates. And what these are used for are part of, I believe, the memory controlling. We'll find out. I'm going to go through the board as a whole. But these go probably on here somewhere. And the idea with them is this is part of the Tandy 3-in-1 upgrade card. In fact, I'm just going to grab a Tandy and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I have it a little pulled apart, and I'm not even going to bother straightening my mat. But this is the Tandy 1000 HX, and it had a sister called the Tandy 1000 EX that came before it. And the difference between these two is that this had a 3.5-inch floppy in the front and room for another one here, and the 1000 EX had a 5.25-inch floppy that went in the side. They both had this weird expansion cover at the top. Now, if you look at that, that's not a slot, those are pins, but they were essentially compatible with the standard 8-bit ISA slot that came on the original IBM PC. I'll pull this cover off. So it was an all-in-one computer like this, but it didn't have a whole lot of expansion other than the things you really needed up front. It had very good sound, 3-voice sound, 2 joystick ports, and on the back it had your monitor port, these weird card edge things for an external drive and a printer that you needed an adapter to make a normal printer work. And that was about it. That was all you got. Well, back in the day, you could buy cards for these things, and in fact, I have one. This is a little dusty, but this is an 8-bit. I think it's a memory upgrade. I don't know what this one would take it up to. Probably 768 bits or whatever. But the idea, you could buy this. Well, you could buy these risers, and you would stack 3 of these cards on top of each other like this. So there'd be one here, then you could put in another one for a game port and stack a 3rd card on top, I believe. And somebody in here hacked in a normal ISA slot so you could sneak an 8-bit card in there. But in general, these things were upgradable, but you were definitely buying your parts from Tandy. So when I bought this, I feel like I paid $100 or so for this card with no RAM on it, and then I had to populate the whole thing with chips. So I think it was several $100s to take this thing from 640 megs, 640K, or sorry, let me try that again, 256K to 728K. So you essentially got your 640K of memory and then like 96 or whatever upper memory that you can install some drivers and stuff in. But now some good people have created this board that I was telling you about. And the idea is that this thing will sit on top of here, and it's got a little back plate. I won't bring that out again, but you populate it with just a single chip that's going to give you another 512K of RAM, and it also has the compact flash and the serial port. So basically, most of what you would need you could get from this one card now. And the problem is obviously we're in the middle of a chip shortage, and if I were to buy this card online, populated, it would cost me about $125 shipped, and so still pretty pricey. So what I did was I got 4 blank cards, and I'm populating enough parts, because a lot of times it is cheaper to buy them in a little bit of quantity. I've got enough parts to populate all 4 of them. So what I'll probably wind up doing is you know, building up all 4 of them, testing all 4 of them, and then maybe even selling 2 of them just to kind of offset some of my costs here. So anyway, this is, I've talked several times on the channel about the 1000EX and 1000HX and never actually showed you one, so this is the deal. Next up, we have another one that I think is probably for the TI-99. Just to kind of show you over here my organization system. As parts come in for this thing, I'm putting them in this one tub here, so ideally I won't have to scour my whole shop when they come in. So we're not going to go over in detail what all these different 7400 series ICs are, but we'll take a look in here. These were actually really hard to find. So Mauser and DigiKey didn't have them. So these are 74 LS245s, and we're going to go over what all these chips do in a little bit more detail as we put them on the board. But if I got 10 of them, there's most likely a chance that the board requires 2 per board. So I need 8 and I have 10. But I think these again are for, I think these actually might be for the hard drive controller, but the idea is that these are different logic chips. So essentially what they did is they used external logic chips like NAND gates and NOR gates and stuff like that to control the memory and the hard drive, and even the, I think you need one of them for the RS-232 serial expansion and stuff like that. And so, you know, these external chips are really hard to find right now. Now, you'll find a lot of 74HC series. If you go on AliExpress and look up 7400 series logic chips, you'll find a lot of the HCs which use more current and stuff like that. But these are the older style that I needed for you know, for these boards, and they were pretty hard to come by. I've got 3 more. This one feels pretty light, but the other 2 feel pretty full. So let's see what we got. We have what is that? I think this might be a programmer. So, man, this is, yeah, I'm not, okay, this is a, about a month and a half ago, I had to spec out an industrial job, and it really came down to, I needed the power of an ESP32, I needed power over Ethernet, and it really came down to these 2 boards. This is the Olimex ESP32 PoE ISO, and this is the LilyGo PoE, I guess iNet PoE. And they're both cool boards and everything, but and I've had actually extensive use with both companies. But I had to make a decision, so I ordered one of each and went to make up my mind. And it came down to the fact that this one here needed there were a couple different ways to program it, but in general, the better way to program it was this little programming device, and that was pretty annoying. When you couple the fact that this one has this really sweet connector for quick access, although I could have made something similar for this, and I may do that in the future. Just after my testing of playing around programming these things and using them, I just liked this one better. I liked the battery backup option, a few other little things that came on there that just kind of put this one over the top. So I ordered 25 of these, so too bad, so sad, LilyGo, and I went with the ESP32 PoE. Now, this board will make programming these things easier in the future, but for now, I'm an Olimex man. All right, we've got 2 more that are probably going to have a bunch of components. There may be some weird, interesting things in there. I'm not going to spend a ton of time going through these, but I will open these up. Okay, so it feels like a gadget reboot mailbag here all of a sudden. I'm not going to go over every single one of these items, but we have miscellaneous, and these are weird little 2-pin headers that I needed. You know, having to order those. We've got a bunch more. What are these going to be? These are going to be, let's see here, IC transceivers, 20 dip. So I'm guessing there's some kind of 7400 series. We've got some more 7400 series logic. We have, these are, I believe 16550s. So these, back in the day when you got a serial card, you would either look for the older style 8250 or the newer style 16550 UARTs. And normally they're big rectangular dip chips, but these are PLCC, looks like 44 pin chips. So, you know, these are for the serial ports on those cards. They're not cheap. They're a couple bucks a piece. I've got some more logic chips. I hated buying these capacitors, but I needed a certain, I wasn't 100% sure that what I had was the right, you know, not just the right farads, but the right spec. So I went ahead and ordered the ones that were recommended for it. They weren't that expensive. Got some more logic chips. Got some of the bigger chips here. So these are either going to be, let's see here. See, I figure out what these are. So these are Mitsubishi or whatever they are. Let's see here. I think these are the RAM chips. So these are, let's see here. Yep, so these are 512K 32 pin RAM chips. So man, back in the day, like, I mean, this chip would have tripled the amount of memory that my computer had back in the day. So we have some more, these are, what are they, decoders, demultiplexer, what is a demux? But they're more 7400 series chips. And we have, these little things are a pain in the butt to find too. These are the clock chip. So this is the little clock crystal that does all the timing, I'm guessing for the RAM on that card. So got 4 of those. A little hard to find. I think these were like $3 or $4 a piece, which hurt a little bit. So we'll see. But that is my DigiKey order. There's 10 items in there. And again, these chips all kind of deserve their own video separately, but for now, they're going to go in the box. So I'm going to try not to show the address coming this way. One of the things I've been seeing, this is kind of a pro tip if you made it this long in the video, I've been seeing more videos or more products on eBay that have this whole speed pack thing. And what I've noticed is when they say speed pack, they're generally really likely to combine shipping, and it gets here really quickly. So this stuff got here, oh, this might all be one order. This stuff got here in like 5 days and wound up, you know, being crazy cheap. So here we have a bunch, and I ordered more than I needed for these boards here, but here we ordered the round pin sockets, and the people who are in the know say they tend to like these round pin ones a little bit better. But we've got a bunch of these dip sockets, and the reason why I wanted these is because these are the same ones that I use for EEPROMs. And if you've seen my videos lately, you know that I've been doing a lot of stuff with EEPROMs. So these sockets will be super handy for that. I think they're going to work for the RAM and the EEPROM in this case. In here we have, so these are some PLCC sockets. These things were crazy expensive on DigiKey, and I was able to get 10 of them for cheaper on eBay than I could get 4 of them from DigiKey. So these are, I'm guessing 44 pin, 44 pin PLCC sockets for those 16550 UARTs that I showed you earlier. And these are another thing that can get really expensive if you try to get them from a DigiKey or Mauser. I'm just gonna rip this open. These are the surface mount, and I got them in both genders, but these are the surface mount serial connectors for that card, and I'm doing other stuff with that style connector, so I went ahead and got 10 of those, and I believe there should be 10 of the other gender in here. So yeah, we've got 2 sets of 5 of those, and this would be for like an EGA or CGA connector. And then down here we have, these are kind of cool. For the times that I can't get these round-headed sockets, these are pin headers that are round-headed. I feel like maybe Pile of Stuff just got some of these recently and kind of reminded me that they exist, or maybe told me they exist. These are, I don't really need to, I should open them. But similar to the Arduino pin headers, these are sets of, I'm guessing 40 long, of the round-headed pin headers. I'm not getting a very good shot of that. The round-headed pin header. So in other words, in the event that I need a, you know, an 8x8 socket and I don't have one, I can actually just make one, you know, and solder that onto the motherboard. And so I don't know that I'll use these a ton, but I thought, man, if I want to socket something and I don't have the right socket, like this could be a game changer. They were cheap. It was like $3 for them, and there's 40, 20 pieces total of 40 pins, the same 2.54 millimeter spacing that your normal Arduino header has. So that is a hefty mailbag, and if you made it to the end, I really appreciate it. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope you're doing well, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Thanks for watching.